Hello and good morning. Welcome back to our class. Our lesson for today will be absolute value of a number. So this is intended for grade 7, quarter 1. So for our objective today, we would like to represent the absolute value of a number on a number line as a distance of a number from 0. So if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications about my new videos. So before we start with our discussion, can you tell me the opposite of the following numbers? Say for instance, 7. And the opposite is negative 7. Next, 10. The opposite is negative 10. Negative 8 is positive 8, or simply as 8. Next, negative 5. The opposite is positive 5, or simply as 5. While negative 20, the opposite is positive 20. Number 6, 15 or positive 15, the opposite is negative 15. 100 and the opposite is negative 100. From this simple activity, we can define opposites as exactly the same numbers but opposite in signs. Or in short, we can say this one as additive inverse. Alright, to explore more, let's recall the number line. Okay, so the number line is composed of positive integers, negative integers, and 0. So take note that the negative 1 is the opposite of positive 1. Okay? And 7 is the opposite of negative 7. As well as negative 5 is the opposite of positive 5. Based from our simple activity a while ago, we can say that the absolute value is the distance of a number from 0. Also, it is denoted by the absolute value of n. So notice that I have two parallel lines, vertical lines. So this answer the questions, how far is the number from 0? If we have this symbol, so meaning to say this is asking how far 5 from 0. To explain further the absolute value, so let's have this concept. If x is a positive integer, then the absolute value of x is x. In symbol, that is the absolute value of x is equal to x provided that x is greater than 0. It means it is positive. Say for instance, I have absolute value of 7. So meaning to say, starting from 7, I'll count off going to 0. So let's start. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So therefore, the absolute value of 7 is equal to 7 since 7 is a positive integer. Alright, another concept is if x is equal to 0, then the absolute value of x is equal to x. In symbol, absolute value of x is equal to x if x is equal to 0. So, absolute value is 0 since 0 is equal to 0. And, okay, guys, by inspection, okay, absolute value is the distance. Since you are not going to move from 0, so the distance of 0 to 0 is equal to 0. To explain further our concept on absolute value, if x is a negative integer, then the absolute value of x is the opposite of x. In symbol, the absolute value of negative x is equal to x provided that x is less than 0 or negative integer. So let's have here example. So absolute value of negative 5. So if we will count, okay, from negative 5 going to 0, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the distance of negative 5 to 0 is equal to 5. Since negative 5 is a negative integer, then its opposite integer is positive 5. Alright, to elaborate further, so absolute value of negative 6 using the counting method. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the absolute value of negative 6 is equal to positive 6. Let's try another example. Absolute value of 4 is unknown. Again, from 4, we will move to 0. So let's count. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the absolute value of 4 is equal to 4. Alright, so let's try another example. So we have negative absolute value of 3. So if we will translate this to English language, so this is actually what is the opposite of the distance of 3 from 0. So let's take first, or let's count first the distance of 3 from 0. So let's have here 1, 2, and 3. But it says here, we will get the opposite of positive 3, right? So therefore, the negative absolute value of 3, it means that that is the opposite of 3, and the opposite of 3 is equal to negative 3. So therefore, negative absolute value of 3 is equal to negative 3. Alright, so to determine what we have learned from our previous exercises, let's try to solve the following. What is the absolute value of negative 8? And this is equal to 8, correct. Next, absolute value of negative 15 is 15. Negative absolute value of 9 is equal to negative 9. Next, absolute value of negative 10 is negative 10. Alright? Absolute value of unknown number is equal to 4. Meaning to say, think of two numbers or think of a number such that the distance is equal to 4. And there are two possible answers. And the answers are negative 4 and positive 4. What about absolute value of n is equal to 6? Again, think of a number such that the distance is equal to 6. And there are two possible answers, namely negative 6 and 6. What about absolute value of d is equal to 20? So the answers are negative 20 and 20. And finally, absolute value of d is equal to 80. So the answers are negative 80 and 80. Alright, since you have knowledge already on determining the absolute value, so let's try more exercises. So absolute value of 8 minus 6. So we will subtract first 8 and 6. So we will have now, okay, absolute value of 2, which is equal to positive 2. Next, absolute value of 7 times absolute value of 9. So take the absolute value of 7 as well as 9. So we have 7 times 9 is equal to 63. That's correct. Next, absolute value of 10 plus absolute value of 5. I'll get first the absolute value of 10 as well as the absolute value of 5. Then add. So I have 10 plus 5 is equal to 15. Next, absolute value of 24 divided by absolute value of negative 4. Again, I'll take the absolute value of 24 as well as absolute value of negative 4. So I have here 24 divided by 4. So this is equal to 6. Alright, now let's try to compare using the less than, greater than, or equal to. So, if I have here absolute value of negative 10, and we would like to compare that to absolute value of 10. Take note that if I'll perform the absolute value of negative 10 as well as absolute value of 10, I have here 10 blank 10. So therefore, I can say that they are actually the same or equal. Let's have another example. Absolute value of negative 8 compared to absolute value of 6. I'll get first the absolute value of negative 8 as well as positive absolute value of positive 6. So I have 8 compared to 6, and I can say that, okay, 8 is greater than 6. Next example, absolute value of 7 minus 2 compared to absolute value of 4 plus 1. So I have here absolute value of 7 minus 2 is equal to 5, while the absolute value of 4 is 4 plus 1 is equal to 5. So therefore, 5 is the same as 5. Finally, absolute value of 14 plus absolute value of 2 compared to absolute value of negative 9 plus 10. So simplifying it further, so I have 16 compared to 10. So therefore, this is greater than. To evaluate what you have learned from this lesson, try to answer these exercises. Alright, find time to answer the following questions. Then after that, check your answers on our answer key. Alright, thank you once again. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications about my new videos.